Hey guys, welcome to Poor Man Mods. Today we're going to be working on my 2002 Lexus IS300, which last year, with the help from XAT Racing, I did 1UZ swap. And today we're going to be doing another modification to this 1UZ with help from XAT Racing, and that's their billet aluminum pulley set. Now, unfortunately for the UZ engines, there really aren't that many aftermarket power upgrades that you can do to this engine. For one, because the engine is just fantastic already. It's not a total powerhouse, but it's just a great engine out of the box. And two, historically, this engine hasn't really been popular in the aftermarket community for a few reasons. And because of that, there just aren't that many affordable power upgrades that you can do to this engine. When I did this engine swap, I did put in an XAT Racing lightweight flywheel, and I do have a lightweight drive shaft, and of course I have headers and an intake, but that's kind of it. There isn't a whole lot left without spending a ton of money. Now you can do cams, but since there's 4 cams in this engine, you're coughing up a lot of money for cams. And of course you can do nitrous turbo supercharge, but that's a ton of money. So unfortunately there aren't many upgrades you can do to this engine, but fortunately XAT Racing does have a performance upgrade and a cosmetic upgrade that doesn't break the bank, and that is their billet aluminum pulley set, which we're going to be installing today. So this is their billet aluminum pulley set for the 1UZ. They do offer it for the 1UZ, 2UZ, and 3UZ. On their website, they have a bunch of drop-down menus for different engines and also which car your engine came out of. My engine came out of a 99 GS400, so I selected those options accordingly, and these are the pulleys that I have. We have the power steering, the fan pulley, tensioner, idler, and then the alternator pulley. And it's going to be a pretty similar setup for your 2UZ and 3UZ. So you can put these pulleys on an IS300 if you 1UZ swapped it, or you can do a GS400, GS430, or even your 4Runner or Sequoia. So I could put these same pulleys on my 4Runner over there, which would be pretty cool. But we're going to be doing it on the IS300. Since these are billet aluminum, they are a little bit lighter than the stock pulleys, and freeing up rotational mass will theoretically free up some power, and they look absolutely fantastic. They're billet aluminum with a clear anodized finish. So it's going to make the engine rev a little bit better and be a little happier, especially now that I have a lightweight flywheel and drive shaft. The engine should be pretty free revving, and it also has headers. So the engine should be very happy once all this stuff is installed. And they do offer these in black, but since my engine and engine bay is already kind of dark, I went with the clear anodized pulleys so they would stand out a little bit more. Now, because we're doing this in an IS300, this engine was not designed to come in this car, the bay's a little bit tighter than, say, my 4Runner or even a GS400, so some of these pulleys may be a little bit more difficult to install than on your application. But in this video, we're going to put all these on my 1UZ VVTi, which is in my IS300. Hopefully it's not too bad, but it should look good at the end and free up a little bit of power. Let's get into it. Alright, to get access to these pulleys, we're going to remove my intake system. I'm also going to move my relocated oil filter. Later in the video, I moved the radiator, which I probably should have done at this point to make my life a little bit easier. And also, of course, we have to remove the serpentine belt. Unfortunately, my tool was in the way for this shot, but we're going to start off with the fan pulley, which I don't have a fan on this anymore. For this, to make it really easy, I used my electric ratchet, which actually had plenty of torque to remove these bolts. If you don't have an electric tool like this, it might be a little bit harder for you, but my little Milwaukee ratchet made easy work of getting these bolts out. And easy enough, we just put the XAT Racing pulley on and re-secure the bolts with that electric ratchet. Onto the tensioner pulley now. This bolt is reverse thread, so in order to remove it, you're going to rotate it to the right. And as you'll notice, there is this pretty big, like, cup-shaped washer on the front of this pulley. We will not be reusing this with our new billet aluminum pulley. We do have to put a washer on the back of that pulley, though. That came with our pulleys. The cone-shaped or cup-shaped washer we won't be reusing. It doesn't fit. If you do want to reuse it, though, you'll need to space it with another washer, because without an extra washer, it will interfere with the pulley, so we just went without it. Onto this idler pulley now. It also has a cup or a cone-shaped washer, just like the tensioner pulley. If you also want to reuse this one, you'll have to space it as well, and of course, we decided to go without it. So here I am fighting with the power steering pump pulley. I'm trying to get it wedged in place so I can remove the nut on the pulley and I epically fail, so I eventually decide to remove the radiator rather than removing the power steering pump and the alternator from the car. Some cars, and in the 4Runner, you might not need to do this, but I found it way easier to just drain a little bit of coolant and remove the radiator rather than removing the power steering pump and the alternator. This gives me plenty of room for my little impact to get the nut off the power steering pump pulley as well as the alternator. This really does make it so much easier. I definitely recommend removing the radiator rather than both the alternator and the power steering pump. And here's the last pulley that we're doing, the alternator pulley. No special tricks here, just use the impact to get the nut off and pull the pulley off. All these are very simple to install, and look at how good they look over the stock pulleys. So much better. Okay, got the XAT Racing billet aluminum pulleys installed in the 1UZ in my IS300. Now this engine is pretty much as freed up as it's going to get. It's got the billet aluminum pulleys, which look fan-frickin-tastic. It's got headers on it, it's got a good flowing intake, lightweight flywheel, and a lightweight drive shaft. So this thing revs pretty good, and it's as free spinning and as free breathing as it pretty much can possibly get. But you could do something like a fluid damper, but I'm not sure if those are lighter than the stock harmonic balancers. So freed up a little bit of power with this. It's not a whole lot, but since there aren't many options for this engine, this is one thing you can do just to get yourself a tiny bit more power and efficiency out of it. So because this engine bay is pretty tight, I have that air scoop on there, the factory scoop, and also just that big intake tube. That does cover a lot of the pulleys, so they don't really stand out. That's why I went with the polished look rather than the black. I did not want them to be hidden because they're a nice piece. I wanted you to be able to see them. And so I wanted to give them the best chance of standing out. That's why I went with the polished look. But if you're doing this on a different car, maybe like a GS or an LS, or even like a 4Runner, they're gonna be more visible. This engine bay is just pretty compact and tight. So unfortunately, they don't stand out as much. But it is nice just knowing that you freed up a little bit of rotational mass in there and freed up a tiny bit of power. So big thank you to XAT Racing for helping me out with this video. This video and also the whole transmission bell housing conversion hoopla that I did with this, that wouldn't be possible without them either. They helped me out mating my W58 to this 1UZ. So if you're interested in putting a manual transmission behind a 1UZ, make sure to check out that video that I did with XAT Racing as well. That goes over a whole step-by-step on their bell housing conversion kit. So highly recommend watching that video too. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.